Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and in this video today we're going to finish the CB900F. So first job today is going to be to start to reassemble the seat hardware. And so really that shouldn't involve too much. I've got to put these screws back through the seat strap. There's a couple of split pins that go in there, and then the seat mounting hardware has to go back on here as well. So these have been repainted. Well, the top part has been repainted. The bottom brackets are kind of an anodized finish, so I just clean those up. They'll be fine. So the part that I have to be very careful of is there's some sort of hole through the seat here that I have to pierce in order to get the strap to properly attach. So I'm going to remove that strap for the moment. And then I have to locate that hole, and then which is right there. Pierce that through. Like that. Hoping that. Alright, so there is the reassembled seat unit. There, all the hardware is back on. Reattach the tail cowl. So that is now ready to go back on the bike. So it has been a few weeks since I turned a wrench on the CB900F. So this morning, because the weather has turned poor again, I'm going to move ahead with this and see how far we can get. So first job is carburetor's back on, and we'll see if she starts up. Battery hooked up. All right, so I moved the bike up a little higher on the lift because my fuel bottle hose is a little short. So the remote fuel bottle is hanging up there above the handlebars. Got some windows open. Got the back doors open. Primed. A bit of choke. Ignition's on. Engine start switch. as expected. Cylinder 2. So cylinder 2 is still a problem, so those carbs got to come off. So not a surprise. I mean, everybody has said that those these carbs, especially carburetor number 2, quite clearly the pilot still has a problem. So I've been avoiding it because it just terrifies me, to be honest, to take a drill and a tap to that jet. I know they're replaceable, you know, if I bugger it up, but I just worry about getting all the brass swarf and all the carburetor orifices and all of that kind of nonsense. So anyway, I have no choice. Although it started up really easy, that number 2 is basically not doing much on idle. So here we go. Let's we'll put her back down on the ground, and then those carbs are going to come off, and you get to see me sweat drilling out the brass pilots and extracting that stuff to clean it. All right, so here's the problem. On the, it's supposed to be 81 and older K&N carbs for the CB900 and other bikes as well. 82 and newer, the pilot, which is in here, the slow speed jet down in there, is supposed to have that slot in it, so you can use a screwdriver to remove it. It's threaded. In the 81s and older, no slot, not a removable jet. So for either my 82, which this bike is, either it was kind of an early run 82, which got, you know, an older set of carbs on it, or at some point in its life somebody has switched out those 82 carbs for 81 carbs. And unfortunately, you know, the slow speed jet, which is down in there, as I said, it's one of those fluted pilots, right? So it's not just the hole in the center that's the jet. There's a shaft on there, and it's got cross-drilled holes. I just call them fluted pilots. And while you could potentially clear the central passage hole there without too much difficulty using a guitar string, there's no way really to even when you shoot, you know, sea foam and everything else that I've shot down there, you're not going to get those fluted holes cleaned out very easily. Basically tell me how far down I need to go. I'm pretty sure it's 5 or 6 millimeters, but I'm going to check all that. The other thing I'm going to do, just because I'm, as I've said before, healthy paranoia, is this was a 1.9 millimeter hole that I drilled and tapped. This is the drill that came with the 440 tap. Now the guys on the forum suggest a 2.2 millimeter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a 2.2, maybe a 2.0, and that's the 1.9. And I'm going to tap them just to see. This was really hard to tap a 1.9, even in aluminum. So last thing I want to be doing is breaking off taps in there and that kind of thing. So I'm going to drill 2.2 in this scrap piece of aluminum. I'm not using a drill, a press, or a power drill to drill that out. That would just be, I think, asking for trouble. I don't know. So I'm going to try and use this finger drill. I don't know how difficult. I've never drilled brass before, so I don't know how hard that is to do. I've heard it can be tricky, and it will kind of, you know, catch sometimes and whatnot. So we'll see how that works out. All right, so the 2.2 hole is a little easier to tap, which would make sense. That's also the one which a couple of the guys on the forum had recommended I use. All right, so there I've taped up my my drill. So that once the edge of the carb housing gets to that tape, then I'm 5 millimeters down. I think I've got up to 6, but I'm playing it safe. The other thing I'm going to do is, aside from using some WD-40 to lube for drilling and cutting, I am going to dip the drill in some sticky red grease, high-tack grease, because I'm probably going to do the same on the tap as well. And the reason being is it will help to any of the swarf brass that I cut out of there with the drill or the tap will stick in the grease, and then when I remove it, it's just going to be easier to clean it off, and I'm going to be less concerned about bits getting into the various carburetor orifices. All right, let's give it a go. Got my little surgical cover on there. Keep any bits away. So WD-40 down the hole there, and then we're gonna I can feel that cutting right away. I'm quite surprised how easy that is. So I mean, the grease does a good job of just catching that swarf there. So that's, I would highly recommend doing that. It was my tractor guy a few years back that showed me that trick. Right, there we are. Getting right down to the tape, so we're down about 5 millimeters. And I'm just going to clean out the carburetor body there where the pilot seats with some paper towel before I move on to the tapping. I'm just on the tip of there. You can see the brass. This small one also has a double chuck in it, so I think I've got that thing set in there okay. And then we'll give that a try. Again, I'm going to put some WD-40 in there for cutting. I'm going to put some grease on the tap. Alright, so basically the way this is going to end up working out, which is quite convenient, is the focused here. Okay, once this collar here at the bottom of the tap gets to the carburetor body, then this unthreaded portion, we'll call it, the part that doesn't really have any cutting teeth, this is about 5 millimeters. And right now when I sink this thing inside there, it starts where my fingernail is. So by the time I get down to here, we should be deep enough. So when tapping, you kind of want to go in, and when it starts to get tight, or too tight we'll call it, like what it feels like it's really starting to bind, then you kind of want to back off a little bit before you go forward. So clockwise as it cuts, as it tightens up a little bit, go counterclockwise, just till it loosens a bit, and it clears it'll clear the swarf from the cutting threads. So I'm probably in about 4 millimeters, and I don't know if that's going to be enough. I'm hesitant to try it without having enough thread in there, because what I don't want to have happen is I don't want to strip the threads out using the bolt. If there's not enough threads for it to grab, then it could potentially strip them out. So I got to keep at this. All right, so I'm going to do a bit of an experiment, see how much thread I have. So basically what I've done is once the carb body gets to the tape mark, then I've got about 5 millimeters of tapped thread. So we'll see what happens here. I think I'm going to fall short of that. Close. Yeah, that's what I got. I got 5 millimeters, so I think I'm going to give it a try here. All right, so the idea now, really hoping this works, I don't strip anything out, is okay, we thread the screw or the bolt, whatever you want to call it, into the newly threaded jet. And then we, this washer will sit against the carb body. And then the idea is to tighten the nut down. And as I tighten the nut down, it will basically pull the jet out. That's the theory. Let's see what happens here. I gotta find a wrench to fit that. All right, here goes. So this is gonna be a, it's like a 6mm wrench. My stomach is just in knots here. I'm not enjoying this at all. Probably would be easier if I took the other jets out. And that wrench in there. I think it's coming. Huh. Voila! There it is. This thing better be clogged. That's all I can say. Better be clogged. Son of a gun. That thing is as clean as a whistle. See, you can see right through that sucker. Not a blockage in sight. Son of a gun. Well, I'll take a look through the, put that through the light. I can't see anything this way. We'll see what it looks like. So yeah, there was absolutely no resistance to that guitar string going through there. It's quite loose. So there must be something else going on inside that carburetor. So the other thing I did before I started is this is a punch that I have, and I just kind of measured the depth of that pilot jet so that when right now when I go to put it back in there and reseat it, I can just tap it down, and I know by the tape line on the carburetor body that it's at the right depth, and I don't go crazy banging and smacking at it for no good reason whatsoever. I don't know how far and how hard I have to seat this, but and then a few light taps should be good. Should be good. Now carbs are all back together. I put a bit of carb cleaner, compressed air, guitar strings, and whatnot. So we'll see if it makes any difference. A little disappointed, to be honest, after suffering mentally over that for quite a while. I really thought that I was going to find those holes, those fluted holes all clogged up, but they were, I mean, that jet couldn't have been any cleaner. Got life in that cylinder now. whatever that, the only thing I did a little different there is I gave a quarter turn on that pilot adjustment screw, the, not pilot adjustment screw, the fuel screw. I tweaked those a little bit, and obviously I cleaned out, pulled the pilot jets and cleaned everything again, and so whatever it was, it seems to have cleared up now, so that's good. So thank you to everybody that provided advice and tips on that, whether it was from the YouTube channel or the forum, Tony and Mel and others. Very much appreciated. So now the job is bleed the brakes, and then once the brakes are bled, then the bodywork can go back on. Okay, so onto the job that I despise because I'm crap at it. Bleeding dry brakes. I can change brake fluid all day long on a bike that's already bled. I do it every 18 to 24 months on my riding bikes and never have a problem. But getting a set of calipers and master cylinders properly bled when they've been apart and everything's dry and all the rest of it, I seem to have very, very poor luck doing it. It takes me absolutely forever. I've got a vacuum bleeder. I've tried reverse bleeding. If I try conventional bleeding, and the whole process is just incredibly frustrating. But anyway, I have no choice. This has got to get done. So I think what I'm going to try first here is I'm going to back bleed, pressure bleed with a syringe from the caliper up to the splitter right here. I'll put some towels and whatnot so I don't get brake fluid where I don't want it. So I'm going to bleed back to here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Bleed from the caliper back to here with the syringe. And then I'm going to bleed from the caliper up to the master. And I'm going to bleed the master here as well. And so this will be the last thing I tighten up. That's the plan. So the rear brake bled pretty easy. I reverse bled the calipers up to the master cylinder, but I could not get the master to pump anything out. So I'm pulling it apart. We'll see what happens. So I'm still having problems getting this master cylinder to bleed. I've taken it off. I turned it kind of upwards. I filled this lower chamber with fluid. Then I put this in, put it all back on. Still can't build any sort of pressure. If I vacuum bleed from down at the caliper, all it does is pull all the brake fluid out of the line, out of the caliper. It does not pull any brake fluid through here. All right, so I finally got the brakes bled. That took way, way longer than it should have. I ended up using a different master cylinder. I just couldn't get the other master cylinder to prime. So eventually I got that one to start building pressure, which is good. And so I'm going to put the bodywork back on, but this bike really isn't going to get ridden. I've got way more bikes than I can ever hope to ride at any point in time. So what I've started to do with all the restoration bikes, I did it with the Suzuki Pepsi bike that I did. I did it with this GSXR, with this Ninja ZX7. There's no gasoline in those at all. So tanks are completely drained, carbs are drained. So now that I got this one sorted and running the way I need it to run, I'm going to drain the carburetors. The gas tank has no fuel in it anyway, so then it will be ready for I guess long-term storage. that concludes the video for the CB900F. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and there'll be another series of videos coming soon. I haven't decided yet exactly what it's going to be. Quite likely the CBX 750 will be back on the stand to get the starter chain, tensioner, and all that kind of good stuff sorted out. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, stay tuned for the next series of videos. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.